Well, one of the things we've done as a firm is do an industry survey for the M&D industry. This is our 5th year. So we surveyed over 200 M&D companies that range in revenue from 10 million to over 1 billion. The first question we asked them, which we find very interesting, was, how did your company's revenue in 23 compare to 22? Significant growth, 49%, some or modest growth, 45%. So almost 100% of the companies saw some type of growth. How did your company's EBITDA compare in 23 to 22? And that was also similar. So as the revenue went up, so did their EBITDA. 49% significant growth, 44% some or modest growth. This was interesting, and I know Joe, I've talked to, so Joe Ammon is great company, Go Clove, footwear for the healthcare industry at 18th and Chestnut. So a great Philadelphia story, a Penn grad, MBA, right? Yep. And e-commerce has been a big part of what's, so please jump in. What's your feeling about e-commerce these days?
Yeah, I mean,
sorry to put you on the spot.
Oh, no. Hey, everybody. Excited to be here. So we founded here in Philly when I was in my MBA program. We started fully e-com, serving healthcare professionals as our customers. We grew so quickly because we chose that channel. A lot of footwear starts in wholesale, retail, and those are very important relationships, but they are slow relationships. And so we were able to launch right before the pandemic, and like in our first year did what we thought we'd do in year 3. So I think e-com has been a phenomenal growth engine for us, but now we're actually going backwards and we're saying, okay, now we actually want to add retail. Because that's, if you look at some of the biggest players in footwear, Hoka and On, are great brands. I think of them as digitally native brands, but they're actually 70% wholesale retail. So for us, e-com was a great way to just rip the Band-Aid off and grow. And now we're looking at cementing the next 5 to 10 years as a retail wholesale brand.
Interesting. So with this e-commerce, Amazon playing a part? Are you doing separate? Because some of the customers I've had that went to Amazon, the demands, the cost factor, unless you're doing high volume, seem to be very prohibitive. Are you doing this on your own, or are you kind of working through that channel?
Yeah, we built our own experience. We've avoided Amazon because I've ran the math. Like, I don't think I can make money on Amazon. Right. Footwear return rates on Amazon are like 30%.
Wow.
And my business is single digits. So we've avoided it. And I think for us it makes sense. There's other businesses where it does, but for footwear I just don't see it making sense.
How long do you think you can avoid it though?
I mean, they reach out to me every single week. They're chasing us to be on the platform. I think they own Zappos. I could see us much more likely that we'll end up on Zappos than we would ever on Amazon.com.
Interesting. Thank you, guys. Challenges to sustaining performance. From a list of a dozen common challenges, the top 4 challenges M&D leaders say their business face today are 48% high cost of capital and interest rate. Farnese.
Do I have to leave you?
41% rising inflation. 30% supply chain. And this one I find interesting, 22% implementation of environmental, social, and governance strategy. I see that for the bigger companies.
I think everybody can agree the cost of doing business from an interest rate standpoint is, exorbitant. I would imagine a lot of people around this table would assume that the rates should have been lowered, and it's concerning that they're talking about maybe not lowering them as aggressively as they talk about. So it's hard when you had a business, a couple of years ago where stupidly we should have borrowed more and we should have locked in rates at a much better rate. and now you're still trying to grow at the same aggressive clip, but it's coming with an internal rate that's 2-3 times what the actual is. So I hear that the inflation side of things, it's kind of hard to tell. Some in my industry at least, some things are moving up, some things are moving down. I'm surprised that labor isn't part of that because.
So was I as a top 4 item. ESG, I was surprised as opposed to labor issues.
I'm really surprised to hear that's not on there.
Interesting. And Dan, how about from a supply chain? Because there were some issues encountered, I guess, a couple years ago with milk, right?
Yeah, milk, cups, plastic, just about anything. From our standpoint, being a proud vendor of Sean's stores, I'm happy to sell directly to him and never go to Amazon. We still need to have it, right? I mean, we have a very, very simple business outside of, likely. Well, we probably have the most basic of business. I take milk, we freeze it, we put it in a cup, and we deliver it ourselves, right? So there's not a whole lot of moving parts there. So when you hear we don't have cups, and it's one of 2 things that we, right, cup and milk, there's a problem. I think supply chain has gotten better. It's maybe, it's more competitive. I think, where people were taking pricing, you can maybe push that back a little bit, but supply chain is not what it was 2 years ago, where we had suppliers just tell us, no, we can't fulfill your order. No reason given, just we're not going to deliver that milk that day, or we're not going to deliver this, and it was, well, what are you going to do? So
You persevered and made it. A couple of the other interesting tidbits on rising costs and their effect. 62% report an increase in the cost of carrying inventory over the last 12 months. We've heard from many clients, you're just forced to carry more inventory. Their customers are saying, hey, you got to have it, we'll get it when we get it. 73% anticipate the cost of inventory will go up in the next 12 months, right? So we're talking about inflation, and still 3 out of every 4 people or businesses think they're going to go up. 55% report excess inventory. 95% say the cost of storing inventory increased during the year. 88% say employee costs increased in the current year. 43% say costs have increased significantly for employees. Keys to future growth. 35% stabilizing supply chain. 33% utilizing best-in-class technology. 29% stabilizing the workforce. 29% entering new markets. 28% introducing new products. So Sean, we haven't heard from you yet, and I know you like to give some background. What's going on in your business, in your industry?
So we sell commercial HVAC products, which means we're switching from natural gas to all electric type heating and cooling. Okay, so what happens then? Copper prices are going to go up 50%. They're saying 50%.
50.
So
can you pass that on to the customers, or is there a limit to how much you can pass on?
I would say that here's what COVID did for us. COVID helped us take a construction period that could have been 6 months and made it 2 years, right? And right before COVID, if you told somebody it was going to take you 52 weeks to ship a product because you couldn't get a circuit board, you couldn't get copper, you couldn't do something, they would have destroyed you and gone to another vendor. Now, cabinetry takes 52 weeks, so you're building the same building and the HVAC takes the same cost as that. So we changed the game a little bit and started making these heating and cooling plants off-site and then shipping them so they would be ready when the building was ready. So there's opportunity there, but we have a backlog that is larger than we've ever had. And so what does that do for you? That gives you peace of mind going to sleep. But now we're going to change the game, and there's refrigerant changes that are happening. This electric I can't even, I gotta, electrification, there we go. All right, I say it every day and now I can't say it every day. Anyway, so now we're switching from a refrigerant that is safe and friendly and everything else, but our administration has decided that it is, it's got a global warming potential, and so there's a whole new host of products that are coming out in 2025. So now we have to relearn how to sell them, how to service them, how to do everything, and we don't know where the price point's going to be because we have all this copper and everything else.
So they have energy credits attached to those?
Depends on where you are.
Okay.
You know, so Philadelphia's got a certain, you know, water line you have to meet. California's up here. You know, anywhere you go is a little different. But there's a minimum efficiency that you need to meet on there, and our grid can't take the extra stress that's on there because of these new products, and so they have to become more efficient. So, long answer to your question, but from a product standpoint, the game's going to change in 12 months. Yeah.
And then Anthony and Monty, right, you guys are in a similar, love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, we work with Energy Transfer. I think we buy from you guys from time to time. We're electrical, HVAC distribution, mostly parts and equipment, and then we do some manufacturing too. And we're pretty diversified, so we don't feel as much the strain from, you know, the natural resources and those things. But of course, it's passed along, and we do a lot of end user business, which is about 60% of our business. So that could be a hospital or school or anything that any manufacturing facility. So we don't see as much, the market from that standpoint. But we're very bullish on inventory because the society that's been born is now on demand. Where I'm bringing it back to Amazon, you can order something on Sunday and 2 hours have it on your your front porch. And commoditized products like thermostats in our industry, are sold through Amazon, but then there's more engineering involved with something like custom pumps that don't go through Amazon. But a point going back, just speaking to Amazon, if you're in the distribution only and not manufacturing goods, it's difficult. Amazon takes at least 15%, and then they manipulate the buy box. So for instance, we have the lowest price because we bought inventory 5 years ago, spent a significant amount of money on a particular widget, and we had the buy box, and they manipulate the end result. So point being is that we don't do a lot on that side, but historically our business was really heavy in the old school method of sales. We have 60 salespeople that are on the phones every day, really pounding the pavement, and we've invested heavily in the internet. It's late to the game, but e-commerce actually in a couple months we're launching and developing our own e-commerce platform. So for what that's worth.
Awesome, thank you. And we did not set this up, but that's a perfect segue. Business management preparedness. Some of the issues, 4 in 10 respondents thought that they were not ready technologically for the future. Our company has budgeting and forecasting plans in place to address increased costs. Less than 50% said yes. Our company has a sufficient workforce to meet customer needs. No. Our company is utilizing best-in-class technology in most of our business functions. No. Our employees have the appropriate technology skills to maximize our software currently in place. No. So that is an issue. Bobby, I haven't talked to you. And however it fits in, but how does technology at the biotech, see how I did that, center come into place?
So when it comes to scientists, they don't even consider it. It's not even a thought, right? Because that has nothing to do with their research, even though AI could play a part in what they're doing. But from an operational perspective, it's a cost, right? And I think you know that we had a cyber attack. Ted has been phenomenal, so thank you, Gary, giving me some guidance. But just to upgrade some of our servers, I mean, we're talking $150,000 a year more just in flat out costs. Right?
That you don't see
right, it was never
a benefit.
Right.
Right.
That's not going to increase productivity. It's not going to do anything. So, I mean, to your statistics, it's 100% accurate because no one wants to do it until they have to. But when it comes to scientists, that's the last thing that they want to even think about because it's never going to do anything for them, right? I mean, some of them still use notebooks. But it really is, it's amazing, how far off they are when it comes to thinking of this stuff.
Sean, I haven't really talked with you. And Sean has a couple ShopRites and is the board chair of Wakefern Co-op. How does AI technology fit in to your world?
I think from a warehouse standpoint, so Wakefern has the largest banner. We have a ShopRite, but we have Fairway, Gourmet Garage, Price Right, and several others. So, we have, say, 400 stores regional, right? So it's East Coast, 9 or 10 states. From a warehousing capacity, we self-distribute. And so, for us, COVID was a wake-up call in that, we didn't have, you couldn't get people into the warehouse. You couldn't get the product into the warehouse, but if you got the product, then you didn't have the people to get it out, especially at the demand in which it was happening, right? So you're caught there with just realizing how much you're at the mercy of labor. As that has settled, and for us, I would say to you, like, labor has 100% settled back in, supply has settled back in.
Has the cost increased significantly? Is that why labor settled back in?
No, cost has, my industry is a little bit different, but like with the amount of federal, city, state funds that were flooding the market in 21, in 22, that caused a lot of people to not need to work. I mean, you were actually, in certain cases, you were making more at home than you could be. At a place like ours, and I'm talking, kind of that entry level pay, you could be making more at home at that time. I mean, the amount of money. I mean, we had people selling it. I'll give you $500 of food stamps for $300 in cash because they just were flooded with it, right? So that just threw off everything. We couldn't get the people in. That has certainly settled down. But with just the rising cost of everything, with the rising cost of warehousing and with leases, and you're looking out, and we're not looking at a year plan, we're looking at a 5-10 year plan and looking at these leases. To not have an automated warehouse, I mean, we have to be going down that road. That invest, that spend, I mean, it's not a sum that you would sneeze at. But what, where are we going to be? Where are you going to be if you don't make it? The issue with it is that the technology will change in a year. So you're making these big plays on takeoff technology or something like that, and you make it, and that's in 3 years. Once you're up and running, it's going to take 5 to get it up, right? To get that warehouse up. By the time you get that warehouse up, you're already talking about the next model. So it is certainly very relevant, for us, and I think it's a place we have to be thinking of it in order to stay relevant.
Joe, did you want to say something?
I have a young, nimble team. We have tried AI in a bunch of aspects of our business. The one where it's been wildly successful is in customer experience. I mean, we get thousands of interactions every single day across all these platforms. We worked with one firm based out of Boston that was terrible. We moved to another, and within a week, I swear, fundamentally changed my cost basis on customer experience, which is an expensive piece of our business, where we're planning into Q4, where we normally staff up to 20, 25 agents. We're going to go through Q4 this year with 7 agents, and the rest of it served through AI. And the AI, last thing I'll say is the AI actually gets a higher rating.
City Councilman Tom Forkin, Chief of Staff. Love to hear what's going on in the city and what your thoughts are.
Sure. So, well, let me start by, I guess, reflecting on that it's a tale of two cities right now. It's when you turn on Channel 6 News at night, you're getting one version of Philadelphia, and when you look at the economic development that is happening in the city of Philadelphia, you're getting another snapshot of Philadelphia. We have momentum right now. Coming out of COVID, we had the federal money that literally bailed out the cities and a lot of businesses, and I'm sure some of you folks were beneficiaries of the PPP loan. But that is really has served as sort of an economic stimulus for the city of Philadelphia. We've had a change of administration as of January 2nd. We have the first female mayor in the city of Philadelphia, in City of Philadelphia's history, the 100th mayor. And part of the role that Tom and I think, serve here tonight, besides being a client of Citrin Cooperman, is that we want to offer our services as a liaison to the city government, because we value you being in our city, investing your money, hiring our neighbors, adding to our bottom line, shopping here, buying here, contributing here. And we want to be part of your deliberations as you go forward, as best as we see it. I mean, we can only tell you what we know. I know when I turn it over to Tom, he's going to talk a little bit about the manufacturing climate and the Tax Reform Commission. For those of you that don't know, 2026 is the semi-quincentennial. It took me a couple of years to learn that word.
Whoa.
Semi-quincentennial.
Whoa.
It's
It's a soccer game here.
No, it's not the soccer. It's the 250th anniversary of America.
Yeah.
So we literally,
Soccer game.
we literally are going to be on the world stage in 2026.
Yeah.
July 4th, 2026 is the 250th anniversary of America, the 250th anniversary of democracy. We are getting phone calls to our Convention and Visitors Bureau off the charts. World leaders are coming here in 2026. They want to be part of this celebration. And it's going to be a huge economic impact in the tourism standpoint. Hopefully some of our businesses here, I'm sure Minnie Melts is going to do very well during that time. We do have a unique opportunity. We were selected to be, as Gary just pointed out, the soccer capital of the world that year. We're going to have a lot of the FIFA World Cup games in 2025 in June and July 4th itself. The actual final will be the end of July, and it was, we were all afraid it was going to go to Texas, but it's going to Newark, New Jersey. So New York's going to get the hotel rooms, Philadelphia's going to get the hotel rooms. We were also selected in 2026 to be the Major League All-Star Game home site. Aronimink is getting a huge golf outing that year. So we have an opportunity in City Council to make some policies to make sure that we are welcoming, that we don't screw it up, because we have the capability of screwing this up. We happen to think if we get it right, that we're going to be able to attract businesses over the next 10 years. We're going to be able to attract tourism over the next 20 years. And we're going to get other folks young folks to come here and settle, because we are still a great location. You folks that are in the real estate business know it's location, location, location. Well, we're on the East Coast. We're in between New York and Washington. We're an hour and a half from the Jersey Shore. Our transportation system is going to get better. We do think we're going to get an influx of money from the state of Pennsylvania to help the SEPTA problem. We are going to clean up the nonsense on the regional rail and SEPTA. So we recognize, and the mayor recognizes, council and the mayor are on the same page when it comes to, we got to get our act together to make sure when we are on that world stage in 2026 that we shine. And I think we have the momentum at our back right now. Coming out of COVID, we have the money, we have the resources, we have the infrastructure. We're putting more money into the roads. We're putting more money into the our bridges. But we want to thank you, Kevin, for bringing Tom and I to the table tonight, because when we're in meetings like this, we get to hear what's really going on, and we want to make sure that we, either through you or to us directly, that you tell us what you need from government, and to the extent that we can help, that's what we want to do. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tom, because Tom has a unique perspective of being on the Tax Reform Commission 20 years ago. Tom has a master's degree from the University of Pennsylvania and a law degree from Villanova, and he has a unique perspective because he worked as vice president of the Philadelphia Industrial Development Corporation for many years. And I think he just wants to share a little bit here, but the big point we want to make to this group tonight is, tonight's not an end of this relationship, it's a beginning. Please communicate with us on where you think we can help.
Thank you, Kevin, for inviting us. I really appreciate it. I kind of have a unique perspective. because I worked for 2 manufacturing firms. It was startup on the American Street Corridor back in the early 2000s, and then for a Rowan-owned company in Camden, Magnetic Metals Corporation, which made component parts for ground fault interrupters since the 40s. And now I'm obviously working with Mike, and my philosophy is, we're here in the public sector to set the table, not to make the meal. We shouldn't make the meal. We should set the table. And what does that mean? Well, in my opinion, and we dealt with this 20 years ago when I was on the first Tax Reform Commission, which has now been reconstituted, and I would encourage you guys to use us as a liaison to them because they're going to have some serious recommendations. I mean, if for the Philly-based manufacturers, Byrd has always been a problem, and it's a problem because we're unique in that we tax both the net profits and the gross receipts, and that's a killer.
We have a lot of unhappy.
I know, Kev, yeah.
Successful.
Right, but
so
still unhappy. And I understand that, and Mike and I have been working to try to whittle that down. It's obviously you can't do it in one fell swoop, but we're whittling it down. We've had a series since we've been in 2022 of lowering it. We want to continue that, even though the Parker administration didn't propose that. We're going to propose it. So, I mean, I think that's where we can be value added. We don't want to get in your kitchen. You know what you know. You've been very successful, or you wouldn't be here. But to the extent that you guys have ideas that where we can be helpful with the margins for Philadelphia, we welcome that. We want to be your liaison. We want to continue to work on the tax disincentives in Philly. I don't know if there's specific questions you have for us, but I just want to say we're here to be helpful. I appreciate being at the table. I recognize what it takes to be a successful manufacturer, having just touched the margins twice, and I thank you for having us.
Are there startup incentives already? I mean, can you speak to anything that you're doing to generate the interest from the outside? I lived in various cities and startup community, and then second to that, like wage tax. Is there ever going to be a time?
We continue. Well, I mean, we have continued to make the cuts on the wage. No, they're not huge,
Right.
but we're sending a message on the wage tax, and we want to continue that this year.
This is our third budget.
This will be our
And our
third.
first 2 budgets,
Yeah.
we're the one that introduced the amendments to reduce the wage tax. The mayor did not have it in her budget, but we're co-authoring an amendment for the Byrd tax and the wage tax to come back down. So we want to send a message to the business community that we're going in the right direction.
Thank you and Tom for coming, because it is important for everyone to understand they have a voice, and it's good for, I know you're a pro-business person, as is Tom. I think it's important for everyone to understand, we're advocates for the city, right? We're here now, we do business, not everyone may not have their home office in the city, but they're doing business in the city, and because of the city, they're doing business. So we all want to succeed, but sometimes we feel like it's not quite easy to do business in the city. But having you gentlemen here is helpful. Anthony, I hope you had an enjoyable time tonight. It's great to see everybody in a more fun setting than just the work, and hopefully we can do this again throughout the year. And I'll share everybody's information, and if we can help each other, that's great.